I'm Rachel.
And I'm Brianna.
And we're part of Students for Net Neutrality here at Michigan.
And today we're going to educate you about net neutrality. When you go online, you probably don't think about how quickly and easily you can access basically any content that you want. Many don't realize that this is thanks to net neutrality. Professor and lawyer Tim Wu, also known as the father of net neutrality, describes it as the ideal that a maximally useful public information network aspires to treat all content, sites, and platforms equally.
To put it in simpler terms, net neutrality is basically meant to ensure that when you go on the internet, no matter what website or content you are looking at, everything is loading at the same speed and companies cannot favor certain types of content or platforms. It is based upon the idea that there should be a neutral public network. Content creators like AT&T cannot favor their content over others. This could potentially become a way to censor free speech.
According to journalist Margaret Reardon, corporations will be able to mess with the flow of information, potentially regulating what kind of content you see online. One big argument against net neutrality is that all traffic is not equal. Critics of net neutrality say that some data is important and crucial for health or safety reasons and therefore should be able to be accessed faster than other data.
While this sounds really great in principle, it is not so great in practice. If you're skeptical, let me give you an example. Just last summer, when deadly wildfires were raging in California, firefighters in the Bay Area were attempting to use phones and other technology in order to coordinate personnel and supplies in an attempt to save lives.
Even though the fire department had an unlimited plan, their data speeds were slowed down by the cell phone provider, Verizon, for using an extremely high amount of data. According to the Santa Clara County Fire Chief Tony Bowden, Verizon refused to lift the restrictions on data speeds until the fire department upgraded to a more expensive service plan. Here we can clearly see an example of how the repeal of net neutrality has affected not only our internet speeds, but people's lives. In the repeal of net neutrality, the FCC has failed to consider the necessity of common public access to high-speed internet for government services. The repeal of net neutrality allows providers to prioritize their economic interests over the lives of their people.
Democratic and Republican senators alike agree that net neutrality should be reinstated. Broadband companies should not be allowed to charge consumers more for access to speedier internet services. This creates a range of ethical issues, such as limited internet access to people of low economic status who cannot afford to pay more. The internet should be treated as a common carrier because it's a public service and everyone deserves access. Still not convinced about net neutrality? According to a poll from Comparitech, 80% of Americans agree that net neutrality should be reinstated.
As a student, freedom of speech is something that's very important to me. Additionally, I think that being able to go on the internet and accessing any websites and programs with no problems or inconveniences is something that everyone should have the right to do.
As someone from the Bay Area, I think this issue is very, very important. When I heard about the Verizon situation with the firefighters, it just really scared me. I think that something really bad could have happened to someone I knew, and the thought of that is just terrifying, and it makes you realize why net neutrality is so important to so many people, because we rely on the internet now, and events like this happen, and we need net neutrality in order to get through these situations. It's crazy to think about, really. I mean, it's crazy to think about how important net neutrality truly is. I mean, you think about it as an issue that's talked about in the news all the time, and you don't really understand what it exactly impacts in our daily lives. I mean, you would never assume that slow internet speeds would put people's lives in danger. As a student, I feel that this issue will affect the trajectory of the internet for years to come.
Okay.
Net neutrality is important to me because it keeps the internet fair and equal for all and prevents discrimination against low-income people.
So join me
And me
and the millions of other Americans in support of net neutrality.